It's streaming, Miss.
All right.
Streaming.
Good. And a little check here on my end, and it looks good. Okay. So thank you for those of you who are watching us here on Facebook, as well as this fantastic team here who's watching us on Zoom. Let us get started after this brief prayer to the Spiritual Master. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnana-vijñāna-tṛptātmā Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Krishna He Krishna Karuna Dīnabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Vipaksinthubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much, dear devotees, for joining this call on a long weekend when we have a tendency to forget that it's a Friday in between and we're supposed to go to the Bhagavad Gita class. Yeah. Devotional service should not stop for any reason whatsoever. And simple reasons like this are definitely not to be there. So let us get started here. What's the verse we're going to do today?
6.8, Mataji.
6.8 for 500 points. Perfect. Okay, so let us get going and let us see. Bring up 6.5 and I have 6.8. Thank you. And I have got that up already, I think. And let me share my screen here. Okay, so what have you been reading so far in chapter number 6 of Bhagavad Gita? Chapter 6 is about
talking about Dhyana Yoga.
Okay.
Ashtanga Yoga.
Ashtanga Yoga, very good. And what about Ashtanga Yoga?
Mataji, all the 8 limbs were told in Ashtanga Yoga, but finally Krishna said that in the purport, Srila Prabhupada has mentioned that Bhakti Yoga is the right way to go about, because finally we come to that, because in that we get what we, in Ashtanga Yoga, you have to work very hard, do different kinds of systems you have to go through. But in Bhakti Yoga, all those get included by itself, and it becomes easy for a person to attain Krishna consciousness.
Okay, good. What else? Some key things from the chapter.
Yeah, it talks about the mind, and that you have to deliver yourself with the help of the mind and let it be your friend instead of it being your enemy, because it can be both.
Very good, very good. And then what about the stages of yoga?
Oh,
Yeah, so stages ahara, vihara, pratyahara, this, and then bhakti. From when we do devotional service, it starts from that time only, from the beginning. But in the yoga process, you have to go through all the stages, and then bhakti will
Right. What about yoga itself? Yoga, dhyana yoga. Like the yoga itself, there were 2 stages that were described.
to meet, to unite with the Supreme Lord.
No, I'm looking for 2 Sanskrit words.
Mataji, are you asking about the yam, niyam, asana, pranayam?
No, those are the 8
Limbs.
of limbs of
Limbs.
Ashtanga yoga. No.
I'm asking for 2 words in Sanskrit which define the levels of yoga. I can be in level this, or I can be level that. That way I'm asking the question.
Ātmā and
Yoga Rood and Roda Akshar.
Oh, yes.
Yoga Rood and
Roda Yoga.
Yoga Rukshure.
Yoga Rukshure.
Yoga Rukshure means, and which is which?
Mataji, Yoga Rukshure is the beginning and Yoga Ruda is the topmost.
Okay, and topmost and how do we understand that Yoga Ruda is topmost? What is the split of the word Yoga Ruda? Yoga plus Arudha is Yoga Rudha. Arudha means to climb. Like Ashwarudha means you climb a horse. Right? So Yoga Rudha, you climb what?
The highest rung of the ladder.
You are on the young of the ladder. Yeah, you're climbing the yoga ladder. Okay, but very good. Okay, so now what did we read in the last verse? Last week, did we have? Yeah.
Last week we read that if you have conquered the mind, then you have attained everything. You are kind of.
Read the translation and tell me.
Oh, the translation. For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same.
Are all the same. Right? Okay, so now let's see. Now you got that all the context, right? What we have talked about in these last 7 verses. And let's go. Good recaps here today. And good participation in the recap. And let's continue here with today's verse. Jñāna-vijñāna-tṛptātmā kūṭa-stho vijitendriyaḥ yukta ucyate yogī sama-loṣṭrāśma-kāñcanaḥ jñāna-vijñāna-tṛptātmā kūṭa-stho vijitendriyaḥ yukta ucyate yogī sama-loṣṭrāśma-kāñcanaḥ jñāna-vijñāna-tṛptātmā kūṭa-stho vijitendriyaḥ yukta ucyate yogī sama-loṣṭrāśma-kāñcanaḥ. Synonyms. Jnān, by acquired knowledge. Vijñān, and realized knowledge. Tṛpta, satisfied. Ātmā, a living entity. Kūṭa-stho, spiritually situated. Vijitendriyaḥ, sensually controlled. Yuktaḥ, competent for self-realization. Iti, thus. Ucyate is said. Yogī, a mystic. Sama, equipoised. Loṣṭra, pebbles. Aśma, stone. Kāñcana, gold. So loṣṭra plus aśma became loṣṭrāśma in our verse today. Loṣṭrāśma, that's quite a mouthful. Kāñcana is gold. So one who is sensually controlled, what do we call that in Sanskrit?
Vijita-indriyaḥ.
And this will be Yoga Ruda or Yoga Rukshuk?
Yoga Rukshuk.
Yoga Rukshuk.
What is Yoga Rukshuk?
He's just beginning the.
So sensually controlled will be beginning?
No.
It is
The beginning of the ladder. So when he's sensually
controlled doesn't mean he's controlled by the senses.
Oh, yeah.
He has vijitendriyaḥ. He has
Actually,
all the
Sanskrit
senses.
is
He has
Sanskrit.
controlled the senses, it means,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
English is
yeah.
little
Oh, then it is Yoga Rudha.
Yogaruda, right? What is Gyan
acquired knowledge,
and what is Vigyan
realized knowledge.
Realize now.
and what is equipoised?
Sama,
Okay, and what is kūṭa-sthaḥ
spiritually
Spiritually situated.
and what is stone?
aśma,
Aśma.
Aśma,
Aśma.
aśma. And what is pebbles?
loṣṭra.
Loṣṭra.
Loṣṭra. Okay, loṣṭra. Okay, let's look at the translation. A person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same. Right? A person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied. He is fully satisfied by two things. What is that?
Knowledge and
By
realization.
knowledge and realization.
Acquired knowledge and then realizing that knowledge. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same. But put by Srila Prabhupada, book knowledge without realization of the supreme truth is useless. This is stated as follows: Atha Shri Krishna namadi na bhaved grahyam indriyai sevan mukhe hi jivhadao swayam eva swaratyadaha. No one can understand the transcendental nature of the name, form, quality, and pastimes of Sri Krishna through his materially contaminated senses. Only when one becomes spiritually saturated by transcendental service to the Lord are the transcendental name, form, quality, and pastimes of the Lord revealed to him. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.234. This Bhagavad Gita is the science of Krishna consciousness. No one can become Krishna conscious simply by mundane scholarship. One must be fortunate enough to associate with a person who is in pure consciousness. A Krishna conscious person has realized knowledge by the grace of Krishna because he is satisfied with pure devotional service. By realized knowledge, one becomes perfect. By transcendental knowledge, one can remain steady in his convictions, but by mere academic knowledge, one can be easily deluded and confused by apparent contradictions. It is the realized soul who is actually self-controlled because he is surrendered to Krishna. He is transcendental because he has nothing to do with mundane scholarship. For him, mundane scholarship and mental speculation, which may be as good as gold to others, are of no greater value than pebbles or stones. Hari Om, that's it. So, any words that caught your attention in this narration today?
Krishna's name, form, pastimes, and qualities are not understood by the material senses.
Mm-hmm. Good. Anything else? Anybody else?
But once one is a realized soul, then he has same value for the precious stone, gold or silver, or even the stone. For him, it is the same. It does not matter. The value of the thing does not matter.
Yes. And what are the three things that don't matter?
Pebble, stones, or gold.
Pebble, stones, or gold.
Or gold, right? Okay, yeah. Okay. And then the purport, he talks about you cannot capture Krishna by materially contaminated senses, right? And just by gaining just by learning academic things academically is not sufficient for us, right? Do you agree or not agree?
Yes.
Yes. And one
Okay.
has to be very lucky to be in contact with
Yeah.
a Krishna conscious person.
Yeah.
That you should consider it your good fortune. Then only you can
Correct.
render service. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So obviously, so there's a word gyan used here, and there's a word vijñāna used here, and Krishna has used, those two words there in this verse, is explaining things to Arjuna. And Arjun in the first chapter is completely confused, right? And he has been speaking things from the knowledge that he had acquired, right? He was using things like iti shrushruma, I've heard other people say, right? That if there's a war, people are killed, then what's going to happen to the women and things like that, right? So he has acquired knowledge over there, but he has not looked at it from the other perspective. Like if you start to apply that and say, okay, if we don't have the war, what's going to happen? Then you realize that letting the Kauravas stay like that, in any case, the women would have, suffered, right? Even when they didn't have the complete control of the whole world, still they were, they did whatever they could to Draupadi, right? So what's so one has to go deep, you have to apply for themselves and see things in place and how do they fit, right? So sometimes people say, not sometimes, I mean, we all know that knowledge is power, right? So how is knowledge power? How does knowledge become power? We all say that, right? Knowledge is power.
Mother, knowledge is power that you know the thing, but unless you apply it, it has of no value.
Correct.
So that becomes vijñāna. That jnāna becomes vijñāna.
Exactly. So when you apply it, the jnana becomes vijñāna, and until and unless you do not that apply, you just have got content, you just got some information there with you, right? Then there is, if you don't apply it. For example, in school, we learned physics, right? Some of us learned physics. Physics talks about electricity. Okay? So electricity flows through a good conductor. Electricity flows to a bad conductor, right? So we learned so many things about electricity. How can we apply that knowledge in our day-to-day lives? This knowledge about electricity, that it flows through a good conductor. How can we apply that in a real life? Okay, let me put it a different way. How can we apply this knowledge that electricity flows through a good conductor and save our lives?
Motherji, it helps us to see everything clearly. And same way, I think Krishna is telling us, telling Arjuna, and finally
No,
to us.
that is not the question. The question is that we learn electricity, that it flows through a good conductor. And my question is, how can you apply this knowledge in real life and save your soul, save yourself?
Yes, and actually, I was coming to that only, Madhavi, that once we get the knowledge, we have that gyan, that is knowledge, that is the light, basically. And when we apply it in our life, that becomes a good conductor, and it helps us in self-realization. That's what I read.
No. I'm talking about electricity. I'm not talking about spiritual life at all. I'm talking about how the knowledge that electricity flows through a good conductor can be applied in your life to save yourself. How do you apply that knowledge in life?
We get bulbs, light and all because we know how electricity works, and we...
How do you save your life? How do you save yourself?
Like if there is some electricity, we don't we put some barrier which is not a good conductor, so that
it's not a good conductor. For example, give an example of few examples of good conductors of electricity. Electricity flows through
wood.
Wood? Does it flow through wood?
No. Metal.
Metal, right? Electricity flows through metal. Okay. Can electricity flow through your body?
Yes. Yes.
Right. So your body is a good conductor, bad conductor?
Good conductor.
Good conductor. Okay. Electricity flows through good conductors. How can you use electricity to save? How can you use this knowledge to save your life? What are some of the things that you won't do when you have this knowledge?
We will make sure that we don't touch electricity.
You don't touch, right? Or
Yeah.
if at all you have to touch, if you are working with equipment in the home, right? You have to put things into a electrical socket, right? Like that. Then you have to be careful that your fingers don't go into the socket. Otherwise, electricity will flow through you because you are a good conductor. And then electricity goes to earth, to the ground all the time, right?
Yeah.
So then between you and your ground, what you should do?
If you're
Some block.
standing on a wooden platform or something.
Right. So you put a bad conductor between you and the earth so that, electricity cannot find a complete way pass through. So this is called applying the knowledge, right? Just having that knowledge, that knowledge that electricity flows through good conductor and being careless inside the kitchen, we are sure to die one day, right? By accidents that happen in the kitchen like that, right? So this knowledge will become your power. Now you wield this power that this electrical socket is full of electricity, right? But I have got this knowledge that electricity flows through good conductors, and I also got this knowledge that I am a good conductor of electricity, right? And so when I'm in the kitchen, I will take preventive measures and apply that knowledge by, my using preventive measures by putting slippers or wearing shoes or something like that, right? Or standing on a wooden plank, right? That is knowledge that's going to prevent me from dying. So just to lighten the mood over here, this was not meant to be a physics class. I was just talking about how you can apply the knowledge. So there is this situation where there's a man who like how in India there is buses, there's a bus driver, and then there's a conductor who sells you the tickets, etc. Like he'll make people sit down and let them get off, open the door when the bus stops, and then close the door when the bus before the bus starts to move. Right, that's the job of the conductor. And so there was this conductor and the driver. They were terrible duo. And so sometimes there are so many people standing inside the bus that the bus driver cannot even see outside the windows or rear mirrors and all that. It's so all the mirrors are blocked. And so he has to really rely on the conductor. And what does the conductor do? He cannot even see the conductor, right? But sound is very powerful. So what does the conductor do? How does he communicate with the bus driver? Anybody? India, driven in buses?
With a bell.
Yeah.
Like a bell which is connected to the driver.
Correct. Yeah, so he will pull the rope, tuck, 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 the rope will go, right? And if the rope itself is not there, and we often use this when we are helping somebody back out their car, what do? Right? We start pounding on the bus, right? So sometimes they will pound on the side of the bus. So the conductor is usually hanging on the open door of the bus, and he's letting people in, and then he has got this power. If he pulls the bell, then the driver is going to stop, and then so like that, this bus driver was the two used to work together, but this conductor was not a very good conductor. He was when the bus would stop near a station and the bus stop, and then people were getting off, he would just pull the bell even before the people had properly got off the bus. And similarly, when he would when people would be trying to get onto the bus also, they would be halfway through, and then he would give the signal for the bus to stop. So it was not very good at all. So then so one day the bus was driving. It was monsoon season, and there was a lot of rains here and there, and so it was a rainy season, and then suddenly there was a lot of lightning that happened, and the lightning fell on the bus, and bang, it fell on the bus, and then everybody in the bus, died, except for this conductor. So why do you think that happened? I'm continuing the physics class further.
So
Because he was holding the thing that's a good, bad conductor of electricity.
This is a joke. Because he was a bad conductor.
Oh, he was a bad conductor. Oh, that's a good one.
Okay, so yeah, so we were talking about applying the knowledge, right? We're talking about applying the knowledge. So then when you apply the knowledge becomes power for you, right? So unless and until the knowledge is not applied, it will just remain jnāna. It will not become vijñāna, right? And then we also see that, as I was talking about it in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we saw that Arjun was very, very demoralized, right? And he just went to the back of the rath and he said, I cannot fight, after giving a lot of explanation to Krishna as to why he cannot do that. So, so when he realized that, so then Krishna gives him jnana, right? He gives him jnana, he's understanding it, he's assimilating all that information. But then after he assimilates that information, does he apply it or not apply it?
Yeah.
He applies it, right? And only after applying it does Arjuna get peace in life, right? Afterwards, after doing that. Otherwise, he was very, very upset as to how I can do this. How can I kill my relatives? How can I kill the grandfather Bhishma, and so on and so forth, right? So the same Arjuna who was so much, upset, then he became content and he became satisfied also there, right? So now the question is that what happens if we don't apply our knowledge? We have jnana, but we don't apply our knowledge, then what's going to happen to us?
It will get lost.
Well, that's a good point. That by doing, you remember, right?
We will get ego, that we have knowledge.
That's a very good point. Yes, we will get ego. So how will you get the ego?
That I know everything.
That I know everything, right? And so interesting thing is that by gaining so much of knowledge and not applying it, we actually become poor.
Hmm.
And how do you think we become poor? By having knowledge, I have something. And even though I have something, how can I become poor?
Because you're not sharing it with others, your knowledge.
But giving things always makes you poor, right? Giving away. So if I'm not giving away knowledge, that's fine. I'm keeping all the knowledge to myself. But how does keeping all the knowledge to yourself actually makes you poor in the long run?
Planning is not correct.
You only lose the importance of that knowledge.
You lose okay, so you wasted that in the sense you did not apply it, so that's a wastage. But then on the other hand, my question is that
how you become poor?
How do you become poor? Poor means that you're lacking something, right? And you gain so much of knowledge, then what are you lacking? After gaining so much of knowledge, I've got so much of knowledge, right? I memorize this.
Not properly using you. If you're not properly using,
no, I'm not properly using it. That's fine. I'm not,
then you're losing
something. I'm not. No, it's what is it that I lack? If I just get so much of information, I gather so much of knowledge, and if I do not, apply it, in which way will I become poor? I won't become poor by way of knowledge because I've got plenty of knowledge.
Knowledge.
I've got a lot of it. I collected it, memorized 6,000 verses. That's good. I'm very, very rich. Right? By shloka wise, I'm very rich. But how will I get poor? In what aspect of life will I become poor?
I will not, when you are not distributing and not educating others, then you become poor. A teacher, if she is not educating her students properly, That means she is of no good. Her knowledge is of no good to her.
Yeah.
So she is a
what you have
poor
said,
teacher.
yeah. So what you're saying,
She's
yeah.
a
So
poor
you have said,
teacher.
you have repeated the situation, which is if a person is not distributing knowledge, he is poor, right? My question is that how can I say, in which aspect of life is that teacher poor, has become poor? She gained knowledge, she has got knowledge, she didn't give it to anybody, so she has kept it to herself, so there's no loss over there apparently. Then in which way will a teacher
Financially also she
poor?
will be poor, Mataji. She will not, I mean, that means she doesn't have the job. She is not distributing her knowledge, so she will not get the job. She will be terminated
She'll be
immediately.
terminated.
So no. Yeah.
Okay. What about preachers? What if I don't distribute? I don't get money for teaching.
It will go waste.
I don't have a job.
Your knowledge go waste because you
knowledge got waste. We talked about that. Knowledge goes waste, but then fine, it's a waste.
You will not get, like, if you give knowledge to us, when we will apply it, we will get benefit. We will appreciate you. We will thank you. So that return thankfulness.
Correct.
we will
So
not get.
yes, that return that you get, the joy that you get from two parts, the joy that you get from discussing Krishna, right? Using your words, mouth, and intelligence and everything in service of Krishna. This is one of the ways, right? So that way you are impoverished or you're made poor. And the second way is that you will gain so much of knowledge, you are not giving it to others, but because you have so much of knowledge that the mind is your enemy and mind is your friend, right? So your mind will keep on telling you that, hey, you have got so much of knowledge. I know the most shlokas in this whole universe or whatever, in this class, in this community, wherever, right? And so now you will be expecting people to praise you. And when that praise is not coming, you will feel poor, right? Just as a poor man feels poor because the money is not coming, right? Similarly, a person who is, using the knowledge but is not applying that knowledge, right? Just keeping all the knowledge to himself. If you apply the knowledge, then, people will see, right? If you're applying the knowledge, people will clearly see this person is applying the knowledge there, right?
And nobody will know that how much knowledge you have, and other than if you don't distribute.
Yes, that is true.
You only know that
won't
you have
happen.
the knowledge,
Yeah. And you don't distribute it. And also if you don't apply, the more important thing is that you have to also apply that knowledge, right? Applying that knowledge is very, very important in your own life. Otherwise, all that's going to happen is I'm gathering knowledge, not making any use of that knowledge, not even giving it to others. Even at least if you gave it to others, at least some happiness would have come from the adulations that you get, right? From people. But if you don't even do that, then you will completely feel that, although you have, I'm very poor. I'm very poor because, I have got all this, but, what's good is coming out of it.
But again, Mataji, if you're using knowledge, it keeps on generating more and more, you also it's benefited. If we're not using that, it will go waste, Say one fine day, you have too much knowledge, but we don't know what to do with that.
Correct.
If we are not using and if we're not getting anything back.
Yeah. So we talked about that. We talked about the fact that it's lying waste, right? And anything can be waste if you don't use it, right? If you have a lot of money in your bank, if you don't use it, it goes waste, right? Then somebody else will come and spend it, right? Mostly the progeny, like that, right? So one thing to keep in mind is that when you have got knowledge, if you don't use it, you will feel poor, right? And then also that, you will also feel burdened. Like, first few days you memorized, 10 shlokas, didn't share it with anybody, didn't apply it in your life. So no adulation came, no improvements in your life came at all, right? Then the next time, where is the impetus for me to learn? The impetus will come only when I apply this knowledge. I definitely guarantee there'll be good news for you. Good impact will be there, right? And if not, not even, applying it, even if you're distributing it to others, at least some adulation will come. So now, either of the two things are not happening. You're not applying your wisdom. Then you just feel like a burden. Next time you want to learn another 10 shlokas, the impetus will not be there, right? So here Krishna is talking in this particular verse from today. He's saying that what does he say?
Yeah.
jñāna-vijñāna-tṛptātmā. Right? jñāna-vijñāna-tṛptātmā. So your tripti and your satisfaction is only going to come when you apply this particular knowledge, right? And one of the key things to keep in mind over here is that we read, and any new book that comes, we read. And what did Prabhupada say? Prabhupada just said that there are 5 books, if you read them in your life, that is good enough. And what are those 5 books he said?
Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada Leelamrita.
No.
Krishna book. Krishna book.
Krishna book is in Srimad Bhagavatam. So,
Brahma
Yes.
Samhita and Ishopanishad. Brahma Samhita and
Ishopanishad.
Ishopanishad.
he said nectar of devotion.
Devotion.
Right? And nectar of instruction. So 5, if we read 5, that is sufficient. And even we know nowadays that how difficult it is to even read those 5 books that we have here in our lives there, right? So if you don't apply, the interesting thing is that, you know, suppose you're reading a cookbook, right? And you can read how to make a cake, step by step, how to make a cake, step by step, how to make samosa.
But if we don't make, then we don't know what problems we face and how we have to implement like that. Once you have to do that.
Exactly. So that is why when you apply the knowledge, that is when the knowledge really seeps into your psyche, right? And can you like, you know, I'm saying, okay, yeah, I should be selected in the Indian cricket team. Yeah, which lost, by the way. And yeah, why? Because I have read everything. But I don't know how to hold a bat. Like that. You know, I've listened to all the commentaries, I've read this, I've read that. No. You have to go there and you have to practice doing it.
Practical.
Jnāna, the practical application is very, very important. That's something that we have to keep that in mind. Always that. Right? And so here it's also saying that jñāna-vijñāna-tṛptātmā. Right? So jñāna-vijñāna-tṛptātmā, your ātmā will become tṛpt. Right? How will your ātmā become tṛpt? How will your ātmā become tṛpt? By vijñāna. Okay? So sometimes when we sit down to read, or somebody else is reading Bhagavad Gita, like we all are here, we are discussing, we're reading it together, right? And so sometimes people will say, you know what? And when I go to do book distribution, and we say, okay, now here's a Bhagavad Gita, and you know, we talk good things about the Bhagavad Gita, and then that person is like, yeah, but you know, okay, I'm already reading another book, and I'll finish that, and I'll, you know, come to this. Okay, fine. Some will take the book, and then you say, you know what? There are classes that are held in the temple every Wednesday. We talk about Bhagavad Gita, you know, like that, Wednesday, Saturday, like that, you know, Sunday. So we talk about this book over there, and they'll be like, no, I first want to read it by myself. Right? So that is not going to help. So and I first want to understand and make sure that it is right. This book is really right, you know, and then afterwards I will come to the temple. Okay? That is not good, right? You don't have to over-examine everything. At a certain point of time, you have to take the words for it, right? Otherwise, just hearing about Bhagavad Gita, it is like, you know, you're looking at the food somebody has given you and you're not tasting it. You're reading everything about the food. Who made it, how much the grocery was, how long it took for the food, you know, what the ingredients were, how long it took to prep it, you know, what were the steps in preparing it. You can know all about that. But it's like licking the bottle of a honey from outside, as Prabhupada says. You have to open the bottle and you have to lick the honey, which basically means you have to do something, you have to apply. And once you apply the honey in your tongue, then you will know. Then you will know what exactly honey is, right? So just doing jnana, just assimilating the jnana can be dangerous also, right? And what danger? I can become proud, right? And pride is one of the biggest dangers in devotional service, right? So in Bhagavad Gita, when we learn Bhagavad Gita, then Krishna will say in subsequent chapters, and maybe I should bring that up. It's one of my favorite chapters in Bhagavad Gita, and this verse itself, and we'll read this verse together. This very, very important verse. And if you're talking about knowledge, then which chapter talks about knowledge in Bhagavad Gita?
Transcendental knowledge is 4th chapter.
Chapter 4, right? And which one else talks about knowledge?
7th, Mother.
Okay, chapter number 9. Krishna says, Raja-vidya rajaguhyam pavitram idamuttamam pratyakshaavagamam dharmyam susukham kartumavyayam. Raj-vidya is the king of education. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It's the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization. By realization means vijñāna. It is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting, and it is joyfully performed. So you can do so many things in life, right? Not necessarily that all of them will be joyfully performed. And in the end, the end is always bad for material things.
Even 7th chapter is also knowledge.
Yes.
Absolute.
So, so in this particular verse, he's saying, Raja-vidya rajaguhyam pavitram idam uttamam pratyaksha-avagamam dharmyam. Pratyaksha-avagamam. So there are different ways in which you can acquire the knowledge. And the best way is by experiencing it. Pratyaksha is there, right? But I can define, for example, I can define to you how Hawaii looks like, or I can define to you how a coconut looks like, right? And you can read about it. But once a coconut comes in front of you, then you really know what a coconut is like, right? So similarly, by assimilating this knowledge and doing devotional service, whatever you are learning about God, whatever you're learning about the soul, all that information you will realize by applying it, right? For example, we might say, you should be humble. Humility is a good virtue, is a virtue. Right? You learned that. What good is going to come out of that? If you learned that humility is a virtue?
Nothing.
Nothing. You have to apply that. You have to apply that, right? And in the process of applying humility, once a situation will arise around you where you'll be forced to be humble, and you'll go through the motions of what it takes, what your mind goes through, what resistance the mind puts, how the soul overcomes that. Once you have realized that knowledge, you will be also able to impart that knowledge to others. Right? What is that famous verse about, they have seen the truth? What is that verse?
Oh, 4.34.
Yes, 4.34.
30.
What is it?
Can you start?
Tadvidhi-pranipatena parityanena sevaya upadeshyanti jñāninam
sattva-darshinaha.
Darshinaha, right? So Vidyavali Mataji remembered. She says, I always forget, right? But she remembered. Jnanina tattva darshina. So tattva darshina, those who have got the truth, those who have got the knowledge, they are able to explain it in a much better way, right? So today's verse is saying that jñāna-vijñāna-tṛptātmā. Right? So jñāna-vijñāna-tṛptātmā. So what does it mean to tṛptātmā? Why does this knowledge become tṛpt? Why does it satisfy you? And we are talking about knowledge from our scriptures, right? So if you will
share with somebody, they will appreciate that and they will say that they got some knowledge. Then I will be satisfied. How is it, Mataji? Is that correct?
No, you have stated what we were discussing, but now we are trying to go to the next.
That's what I'm saying.
So we are spiritual beings, and only happiness we will be getting. Like Vaisheshika Maharaj recently said that we are looking for pleasure in the wrong place.
Exactly. So that is knowledge, right? We are looking for pleasure in the wrong place. That is the knowledge that you got.
Yeah.
Right? There's some knowledge that we got. We're looking for the pleasure in the wrong place. But when you apply that, right? For example, if you want to lose weight, and you read books on losing weight.
But you don't do anything.
You don't lose weight. But when the food comes in front of you, the knowledge that this is cake, I should not eat it. Then when you apply it, which is don't eat it, that's when you're going to lose the weight. Just by reading the book, just by knowledge, just by talking about it, is not going to make you lose weight. Right? So similarly, to get the knowledge that, hey, I'm a soul. Okay. So that you get the knowledge, there is subtle and then there is gross. Okay. So number one, you gain the knowledge that subtle can never enjoy the gross. That is very, very important. Right? For example, even if I'm not talking about spiritual and material here, by the way. I'm talking about just and it applies to spiritual also because spirit is subtle than matter. But I'm just talking about gross within the material world. Right? So within the material world, you have how many senses?
5.
5 senses.
Rakesh Prabhu is sitting right next to me. He says 6, and he's correct. Which is the 6th sense? Manaha shasthani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. Right? So this is an example of application of the knowledge. Just memorizing the word, is like you memorize the word. But application of the knowledge is when the question is asked, then you say, oh,
and
yeah,
you don't know the answer.
Mind is the 6th sense, right? So that was application of the knowledge. But then, so when we are saying within the body, there are gross senses and there are material senses, right? So for example, there is, you eat a lot of food, good food, go to a restaurant and things like that, right? Tongue will be satisfied, right? Tasty food, tongue is satisfied, okay? But you don't get full satisfied. The mind is still not satisfied because mind is subtle than the gross. To a certain extent, mind will be satisfied because after all, the desire was coming from the soul and, somehow it is satisfied, but it won't get complete. The mind wants something intellectual. Like they say, intellect is not satisfied by food. Intellect wants something good. So now you will go and say, I don't want to go to a restaurant to eat food. I want to go and see a dance performance by somebody. I want to go and watch an art movie. I want to go to a museum and I want to see paintings that people have given, right? None of this is going on your tongue, right? It is there in the mind. So you see how, and what's a movie, the concept, the storyline and all that, they're subtle things. And the mind likes it more, much better. What's the hidden meaning and things like that. So gross will not satisfy the subtle. And the good news for today is that the gross cannot control the subtle. The gross cannot control the subtle. Okay? Now give me an example in Bhagavad Gita where Arjuna is stating the same thing. The gross cannot control the subtle. An example in Bhagavad Gita. Very well-known example. To do with the mind.
Chanchalam hi mana Krishna.
Very good, yes. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramati balvadram tasyaham nigraham manye vayur iva sudushkaram. So he says this mind is very chanchal. It's here, it is there, everywhere, right? The mind is chanchal. And to control this mind is as difficult as trying to control the
Wind.
Wind, right? So with these hands, which are gross, you can't control the wind. I cannot take this piece of wind and put it over there. Right? So we have to keep this thing in mind that the gross cannot enjoy the subtle cannot enjoy the gross. It'll never be satisfied by enjoying the gross. It might try to, momentarily might feel happy, but it has to get a higher taste. And the problem here is that we are all encapsulated, and the soul, which is even more subtle than the mind, right, desires to have something even better. Right? Vishya vinivartante nirharasya dehina rasvarjam rasupyasya param drishtva nivartate. So it's saying that even if somebody prohibits you, so you learn from the books. You learn from the books that the grass, the subtle cannot enjoy the grass, but we are surrounded by the grass, right? And so we say, okay, I'll stop enjoying the grass. I'm a soul, I should not enjoy a guava. I'm a soul, I should not enjoy a mango drink. I should start thinking like that, right? But then the thing is, the desire to do that will still remain, right? So as long as the desire is there, then I'll feel miserable because my desire is not being satisfied. So even having this particular knowledge, and even trying to apply this knowledge is not going to help me, right? So what's the thing? What do I do? Rasvarjam, param drishtva nivartate. Once you get a higher taste, and devotional service actually gives you a lot of opportunities to develop and practice getting that higher taste. So devotional service will give you opportunities to do deity worship, to cook prasadam, to sit and read books on Krishna, to go and do Krishna Katha, to travel and go to the dham, right? Chanting. So it gives you so many opportunities. Susukham kartum avyayam, that 9.2, where he says that this process is going to make you feel happy. That is how it's going to make me feel happy, right? And then when a person reaches that stage, so they're going back to today's verse here. So he said, jñāna-vijñāna-tṛptātmā. Let me share that with you. Jñāna-vijñāna-tṛptātmā. What does the tṛptātmā do? kūṭa-stho vijitendriyaḥ. Yukta iti ucyate yogī, sama-loṣṭrāśma-kāñcanaḥ. So kūṭa-stho. Kūṭa-stho means to be seated in a higher level. Just as you see among all the birds, which is the bird that flies the highest?
I think eagle.
Eagle, correct, right, eagle. And who's the famous eagle?
The
Balding.
bald eagle.
Okay, so the eagle can fly all the way how? So just as the eagle goes and perches on the topmost area, similarly, kūṭa-stho here, our mind and our consciousness also goes and perches at the highest level. And what is the highest level? The highest level is beyond the material. When you perch your consciousness in the transcendental. Kūṭa-stho, at the highest level. Like an eagle doesn't go on, small trees here and there, bushes, small birds will fly this, that goes straight to the top of the sky, a mile, more than a mile high, it can fly. And then, so it's similarly here he's saying, in our verse it is saying, kūṭa-stho vijitendriyaḥ. And how do you get situated in that position? That is vijitendriyaḥ, by controlling your senses. Otherwise, what the senses are going to do? Senses are going to pull you down.
Yeah.
Right? And we saw that verse, set of 2 verses in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, which talks about that when you are contemplating on objects, then what happens? You want a desire to acquire and a desire to enjoy them. And then if you cannot do that, if you don't get the enjoyment, then you get angry. And after you're angry, then your intelligence is lost. When your intelligence is lost, then your memory is bewildered, and then you fall down again, right? So from the kūṭa-stho stage, you can also fall down by being neglectful and not being very careful to control our senses over there, right? And sama-loṣṭrāśma-kāñcanaḥ. So we talked about, he sees with an equal vision, right? So loṣṭrāśma-kāñcanaḥ. So what were the 3 things?
Pebbles,
Gold, pebble, and
And
gold.
kanchan, gold.
Yeah, pebble, stone, and gold, right? Loṣṭra, aśma, kanchan, right? 3 things, right? And so here they are listed in the order of importance to us in our lives. What is a pebble? Can't do much with a pebble, right? Except maybe build roads or throw at people, right? That's all you can do with pebbles, right? And then stone, how can you use stone?
You can carve anything in that.
You can carve anything, okay?
Deities, anything. And then you can build houses.
You can build houses. Okay, give me a very famous use of stone from the scriptures.
Ram, Lanka.
You can use a stone to build the bridges, right? To build the bridges, right? Yeah. So when the Ramchandraji's bridge was being built, right? The Vanar Sena was building the bridge. So what had started happening when the stones they're putting the stones and they were trying to build the bridge, they would put the stone in the water. What used to happen to the stone?
They're coming up, right?
So,
Floating.
In the
immersed
beginning.
in the water.
In the beginning, what happened when they put the stone?
Doesn't float. It just
It sank, right?
It sinks, yeah.
Yeah. Then what did they do?
Ram.
They
wrote the
kept
word
saying
Ram.
Ram.
And they wrote the word Ram and then they started floating. And this is how they made the bridge. And so Ramchandraji was looking at that. All that is going on, that, they are building the bridge for me, and that it is sinking, and then they are writing the name, and then it is floating. So he went there and he said to Hanuman, what is this? What is this going on? I don't believe it. That you're putting stones in this water and the stone is not sinking, it's floating. So he said, yes, my lord, that is how it is. He said, I don't believe it. Okay. Then Hanuman said, you try it, Prabhu. So then Prabhu Lord Ramchandra took a stone and then he put it in the water and zoom, it sank. And then Ramchandra looked at Hanuman and he said, see? And Hanuman turned and said, yes, Prabhu, if you have abandoned somebody, how can that person float? Right? That's why the stone went down. So this is what we have to also remember, that if you want to float, and not only float, we want to fly high in the sky, then we have to be with Lord Ramchandra. We have to take the names of the Lord, right? So here, there were three things that were mentioned: Kanchan, loṣṭra, pebble, loṣṭra, aśma, kañcanaḥ. Order in which you can use them in your day-to-day activities, right? Gold, I don't have to tell you. Right? I mean, a country's wealth is determined by the gold that they have in the reserve, right? That's how the banks go by. And so here we are talking about yogis. So, and they're saying you see it with an equal vision. So it is not that they appear the same to them. He will still see a pebble as a pebble, a stone as a stone, and gold as gold, right? But when he looks at it, he will just say that, all these three things, I don't have to go and hoard any of these three things to myself. So it is equal and it is material, so it is useless for me. Knowledge is telling me I should not get entangled in all these activities. I should not get entangled in hoarding these things, right? Any of these things. I can also hoard stone. If I find that there's a big construction work going on, Olympic is coming into the country, and I can hoard all the brick and the cement and then make money out of it. I can do that. Saying, no, you should not go and do that, right? Now, this is a yogi. Now, Krishna talks about the highest yogi is the yogi who is a bhakti yogi, right? So what does a bhakti yogi do? There's a very interesting verse that Prabhupada uses a lot of times in so many places when he's in the purports. And I'm going to just share the screen, and I made a slide out of it, and I'll share the screen. I'll share the picture with you, because I know Varshana Mati is going to ask me. So I made that here. Okay, so let's see. How do I get rid of this guy? And here. So this is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is, Nectar of Devotion by Rupa Goswami. And so here he says, anasaktasya vishayan yathar ham upayunjata nirbandha krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagyam ucyate prapanchikataya buddhya hari sambandhi vastunaha mokshubhi parityago vairagyam falgu kathyate. So the first one is anasaktasya vishayan yathartam upayunjate. So he's saying that one who is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, that person is rightly situated above possessiveness, that this is mine, right? On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is not as complete in his renunciation. So what that basically means is that, you remember Vaishnav Prabhu used to tell that story as he was progressing in his journey, and he was trying various lines of devotional service. And in one of them, he was like, I don't even want to touch money. I should not be attached to money, so I should not even be touching it. And if uncle or somebody gave him $1, he would just throw it away as far as possible and not want to look at it, right? But that is not correct renunciation. So this particular verse is saying that is Falgu Vairagya. It's a useless renunciation. Instead, what you should be doing you should be utilizing them in the service of the Lord.
In the service of Krishna.
Right? So when a person sees sama-loṣṭrāśma-kāñcanaḥ, when he sees these three things as same, in the sense, the sameness is, these are not meant for my enjoyment. That is the sameness across all the three things, right? And the difference is there that, yes, I will use a stone. If I have to build a bridge across to Lanka, I will use a stone. I need the money to build the brick, I will get the money, gold. But everything is happening in the service of Krishna. And so when you are doing everything which is there in the service of Krishna, you will be satisfied. And that inner satisfaction is going to come. And that is what this verse is saying, that when you apply this knowledge, what was the application of the knowledge? That Krishna is saying, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate. Everything belongs to Krishna, right? And then also here, Falgu Vairagyam kathyate, or, or the right thing is there. So you go and you apply that knowledge, whatever knowledge that you have gained, you start applying it, and then you will get peace of mind. And once you start, and in order to do that, you have to control your senses. And in order to control your senses, you have to do a lot of practice, be in the association of devotees, do devotional service together, and so on and so forth, right? So there is a very interesting verse that also a very interesting verse that Prabhupada often quotes, and I'm just going to bring that up also here in this connection. One more verse is from he quotes it from a book by Jagdananda Pandit. He was actually one of the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Can you all see my screen? Not yet, right?
No.
Okay. Let me see if I can share. Okay, yeah. Krishna bhuliya jiva bhoga vancha kare, pasate maya tare japatiya dhare. From Prem Vivarta by Jagdananda Pandit. So he was an association of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he wrote this Prem Vivarta, which is about the pastimes of the Lord Krishna. But not only does he describe the pastimes of Lord Krishna, he also adds some more spiritual knowledge, and teachings here and there. So what he says is that when an individual soul forgets his eternal relationship with God and tries to lord it over the material nature resources, that forgetful condition is called Maya or illusion. Otherwise, there is nothing wrong with Maya. There's nothing wrong with a material world. Krishna says, Mama Maya Durateya, mine. This divine energy of mine. He says Maya is divine. So how does Maya become divine? We have been talking about Maya is all material, right? Mm-hmm. So Maya becomes divine when you use it in the service of the Lord, right? And so in the beginning, in the purport, when Prabhupada was saying, and I think Garima Mataji pointed that out, where he says, Athashi Krishna namadi na bhaved grahyam indriye sevan mukhohi jivyado swayam evs paratyada. So he was saying that Athashi Krishna namadi, Krishna's name, past tense, etc., Prabhupada quoted, cannot be understood by a materially contaminated mind. So what does that mean? That if we are talking about mind as being materially contaminated, this means that in the uncontaminated state, is the mind material? Mm-hmm. If the mind is materially contaminated, yes. So originally the mind is pure. Originally the mind is your friend. Remember that. Why your friend becomes your enemy is because of the soul's desire. You have all these desires. So in order to do that, because mind is subordinate to the soul, mind will start generating thoughts to help you fulfill your desires. Now, those desires might not be the best of the thoughts that the mind is giving, right? So, but originally it is pure. So if you go and start engaging in devotional service, the same mind which gave you all kinds of nonsense thoughts, that same mind is going to give you good thoughts also. Right? Same mind will tell you, sama-loṣṭrāśma-kāñcanaḥ. Don't indulge in this. Or the same mind will also tell you, give you ideas on how you can utilize something in the service of the Lord. For example, if I tell you, how will you engage a pair of scissors in the service of the Lord? Can you tell me how you can use a pair of scissors in the service of the Lord?
You can use it to cut the thread to make the garlands.
All right, that's a good one. What
can
else
stick
can you
dresses.
use?
While stitching the dress for the Lord, or stitching the napkins for the Lord, or for stitching the tablecloth on which we serve the food to the Lord, and making the backdrop for the Lord. So scissors are required.
Very good. Yeah. There you go, right? Scissors to inaugurate the opening of a temple. Yeah. Scissors can be used in the kitchen also, right? To cut the green chilies. If you find that the green chilies bother your hands too much, cutting with a knife, you can use a pair of scissors and you can cut them. See, you're all using all those things in the service of the Lord, right? So that is what today's verse is all about. So it is not about that they see everything same. It's not that their vision gets, impaired, that, they are so much into the spiritual world that everything appears the same. No, right? Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavi hastini shuni chaiva swapakecha pandita sama darshana. Right? So pandits will see it later on, it will come like 10 verses later, this verse will come in chapter 6, right? So shuni chaiva swapakecha. So he sees a dog eater, a brahmana, he sees with equal eyes. That doesn't mean that if there is if a lion comes in front of him, of a yogi, the lion is going to pet the yogi is going to pet the lion. No. The yogi knows the appropriate behavior, but the equality and the sameness that the yogi sees in all these is the sameness of the soul. It will keep on seeing a soul in all of these bodies and might feel compassion for the soul. But compassion doesn't mean foolishness. Compassion doesn't mean that you put your hand in the lion's cage. But when we are comparing a lion with a human being, there's something very interesting to note, that the lion is a very ferocious animal. It can kill a human being, right? But because it is a soul, it is a conditioned soul, right? Conditioned souls act according to the condition in which they are put. And in this case, condition is the body, right? For example, a snake can only crawl, or it can swim. It cannot walk because it's got that type of a body, right? A cow or a dog will only, like to eat meat or chapati, does not like salad, right? And so I remember when I was a small girl, there was a stray dog. He used to get how stray dogs come to people's house and they eat roti and all that. So that was that. It wasn't, my neighbor was a little boy, 5 years, 6 years younger than I. So both of us used to gang together and do naughty things. And so I told him that, okay, here, that the dog had puppies. So the puppy, I was very scared of dogs, I still am. But the puppies are good, right? They don't do much to you. So the puppy was there. And so we said, the puppy was, let's give some food to the puppy. So they said, okay, let's get some roti. So we started breaking the roti into pieces and giving, the puppy. And I said, no, let's give some salad, I have some cauliflowers. Let's get some salad. The little boy said, no, it won't eat the cauliflower. I said, let's do this. Let's just, make, try something deceitful. So we'll take a piece of roti and we'll put the kacha cauliflower inside it. We'll wrap the roti and we'll give it to the puppy. So we brought it to the puppy, this, veggie roll. And put it, the puppy was small. I opened the mouth and I was like, oh, wow, see how we fooled it. And then after some time, the puppy came and then he spat the cauliflower out. It ate the chapati. It's conditioned, it will behave, it will work according to the way that we condition, right? So the lion, if you put the lion in a cage, right? The lion knows now it is in the cage. It has lost all its freedom. But the lion does not do any negotiations. The lion doesn't come and smile at the, cage owner and don't do cute little things so that, okay, if I do this, our kids do that, right? After they're in trouble, they behave extra sweet so that they don't get, scolded.
Okay.
And yeah, it's the punishment. But a lion doesn't do that because it's in a conditioned body. That's all it can do. But the human body has got a very superior intellect and can do all that knowledge that it gains. It can, apply it in a very fruitful manner in the service of Krishna. Right? And if you don't do that, if you don't use your knowledge in the service of Krishna, nikate maya stha japatiya dhare. So it's a Bengali thing. It's a Bengali verse that Prabhupada quotes a lot in his lectures. So japatiya, japat. Grab japatiya, japat ke dharo. Catch it and hold it. So that's what Maya does, catches us and holds us like that till we get so sick of what we are trying to do. That's when we surrender to Krishna and we say, okay, fine. I better apply all this knowledge starting with myself. And then I will disseminate it to others. And when you are doing that, when you are disseminating that information, you are speaking about certain things, then your students are watching you also. Right? And if you're not applying it, then the students know. Right? And their faith goes, their faith goes bad in that case, right? Yeah. So our behavior, the way we behave, the vijñāna, yeah. So apply all that and it'll show in your devotional service over a period of time. Okay?
Krishna also said, no, Mataji, that if I don't do in a proper way, so then my followers will also.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. That is why Krishna follows, gets a guru, like that. Yeah. So we should read scriptures. Definitely we should read scriptures because scriptures are going to give you the knowledge. But it doesn't stop there. The purpose of reading scriptures is that you get the knowledge there. It makes you, it'll make you steady, right? And it'll also make you sturdy. Why will the scriptures make you sturdy? So I'm not underplaying the jnana part of it. I'm not saying that you should now stop, doing anything like that. The beauty is in the application and the real worth is in the application of it. But even as we go from our current state of being materially, so much entangled to a stage where we can detach ourselves from all these things, it's a practice, it's a sadhana, we'll keep on doing it, right? So when we are in a situation in life where life is, throwing things at us and then we're not able to handle it, or somebody said something to us and we're extremely angry, what should I do? That is not the time to go and read an anger management book. It's not going to help you, right? But at that time, if you say, and if you have that knowledge that spiritual scriptures are going to satisfy the soul and give you the happiness, internal happiness, if at that point in time you pick up the Bhagavad Gita and start reading it, you will avoid so much of grief that will come from letting your anger.
Yes.
Right? So the shastras are going to make you sturdy. Right? You are now armed with that knowledge inside that, okay, whenever sunset, or if somebody is being very nasty to you, you start chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in your mind. That's knowledge, and you are applying that knowledge. Right? So when a person is preaching about being patient, about being humble, and then others also see that, how humble they are, how patient they are, then by that they will gauge. They will gauge the level of, the other person over there. So it's very important for us because we are all ambassadors of Krishna. And we are representing Krishna consciousness. We are representing ISKCON to the whole world. So we have to be careful in our behavior there. Okay. So I'll call it a day here on this one. Any questions?
Mataji, where is that sloka from, the first one you're saying? Which chapter? I've missed in a little bit.
Yeah, I will share the screenshot on that WhatsApp channel. So I was saying that these are mentioned in Prabhupada's lectures. He mentions these, and I will share the screenshots of both the verses that I shared with you today.
And the first one also, first sloka also.
Yeah. First one is from Bhakti Samit Sindhu. Yeah.
Mataji, actually, when this sentence came, my son had come just now. He had come to meet me. So I got lost the context. Subtle cannot be controlled by the gross. Is it correct? I wrote it correctly.
You tell me.
Yeah,
Yes,
Mataji, I felt.
Huh?
I felt it is correct, but I just wanted to make it sure.
it's correct.
Yes.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah. Think it through before jotting
Yes.
down anything. Yeah.
He suddenly appeared in front of me, so I had no.
So how do we then control the subtle? How do we control the air?
We cannot control
We
the
cannot control the air or the wind or the.
But the yogis control the air and the wind, right? Dhruv Maharaj did that. No?
Yeah.
Yogis can do that.
Right? Yeah.
Pranayama.
Yeah. The gross cannot control the subtle, right? But what the gross can do is this gross body cannot control the subtle mind, cannot control the thoughts that are there. For example, if the mind is constantly giving me angry thoughts and all that, what I mean by control is I cannot take those thoughts and I throw them somewhere, put them in a box and keep them there, right? I cannot do that. But what can I do to these thoughts? I can do thought substitution.
Yeah.
I can say that every time I get angry and I observe myself with angry thoughts, I'm going to recite the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra one time, two
But
times.
Mataji,
Right?
I have experienced this in my life, Mataji. Total experience.
Jnāna.
Yeah. Whenever something is going on, I just pick up my bead bag and come down or
Yes.
go somewhere. Yeah.
Yes, that's the best thing to do. Right? And the feedback might not immediately solve your problem, right? The thoughts might still be there, but you have prevented something worse, right? Between stimulus and the response, you have a freedom to choose, and you chose to leave that situation and walk away.
Yeah, situation. Walk away. Yeah. Mataji, all through since last 10 years, I'm telling you, Mataji, it has helped me so much that I tell everybody, but those who are non-believers, no point telling them. After they see, it might help them.
Yeah. That's true. You only give prasadam to non-believers.
That is what I have been doing, Mataji. Guests are here. So I keep cooking here and sending it up.
Everybody's happy.
Everyone is happy. I just made a salad, Mataji, a lot of salad, offered to the Lord and sent it up. They all enjoy.
Wow. Nice.
They have planted a bomb in the basement. Krishna bomb. Nice. Any questions, any thoughts, any reflections from what we discussed today?
Very nice, Mataji. I mean, I really liked it. Everything of it, every point is very nice. Every point is meaningful. The whole Bhagavad Gita is meaningful.
That is true.
And
Yeah.
also, Mataji, I feel that the more we listen, like to your classes and to read the books, and I think automatically your mind kind of, anything happens, good or bad, you say it automatically in your mind, it comes, it's Krishna's arrangement. It
Yes.
never was there before, it's like, oh, why? Means I never questioned why this happened, but I'm just saying that anything good also happens, or something very, you think, oh, this cannot happen, and it happened, and it's too much of a coincidence, but then you say it was Krishna's arrangement. It just comes to your mind automatically. So I feel that that's the biggest benefit, that you attribute everything to, his
Krishna.
arrangement.
Right. Do you have time for a few minutes? There's a very nice
Yes, Mataji.
article which two of you might not have access to, might have still. This was posted reminded by one of our God siblings on the Vaisheshika Disciple thing. So let me just read it. And I liked it so much that, I made a PowerPoint out of that, just to put it.
So I remember one point Amren Prabhu said, Krishna is a jealous lover. So wherever our things are, he will make us. So whatever, I feel like whatever we are going through, anything, so that we become nice devotees.
Very true. Yeah, Main Prabhu is amazing. So let me share my screen here. And okay. One day, I was doing some gardening in my backyard when I saw a small bird fly right into the house. Wild birds do not belong in houses. I immediately went inside to free him. I started in the kitchen, which is in the back of our house. I opened all the windows, but they made a rattling sound. So instead of going out, the little bird flew into the next room with fear in his eyes. I felt really bad that he was scared. He was so small and vulnerable, and I must have looked like a huge giant, even though my only motive was to save him. Okay, how do I go to the next?
What was
This
this?
went
I
on
read.
and on from the room to room. I'd open all the windows in each room, and he'd flee in a panic to the next room. I finally got him all the way back to the kitchen where we had started by coaxing him in a soft voice and closing all the doors behind me. But now his two shiny little eyes showed complete terror, and if birds could cry, he would have had tears streaming down his face. At last, noticing an open window, he flew out. But before he went, he looked at me one last time, as if to say, you tried your best to kill me, but I escaped your reign of terror. After he was gone, I sat down at the kitchen table and I thought about what had just happened. I'm just like that bird. Someone above me is constantly making arrangements to free me too, but in ignorance, I have no gratitude. In fact, I take all such opportunities that come to me as punishment or misfortune, rather than an invitation to improve myself. Have you ever felt like the world is against you? Even though it's easy for us to feel like this, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, an ancient book of wisdom, everything that happens to us in our lives is meant for our ultimate good. Wouldn't we act differently if we knew that all our so-called problems are there to help us, that they are cosmic sensitivity training meant to help us become the best versions of ourselves that we can possibly be? Yes. Knowing this, we'd have the wherewithal to process adversity and loss. We might even have the presence of mind to feel grateful for our challenges. The age-old practice of Bhakti Yoga is the path of gratitude. It teaches us not only how to perceive this benevolent hand in our life, but also how to use whatever happens to us in our lives as a means to improve. By His grace, Shraddha-devi Dasi in Shraddha-devi Dasi.
Yes, Mother. First part I heard before in one of Guru Maharaj's lecture, but the last part I never heard, Mataji.
Yeah. So try to see Krishna's hand, and I always tell that not only trying to see Krishna's hand in adversity, when bad things happen to us, this is a very good consolation, and this is the only thing actually that will help us handle the bad situation that we're going through in life. That is this Krishna's hand.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll be so angry at everybody, right?
Can you kindly send this, Mataji?
It's on Video Disciples. It's on Video Disciples WhatsApp group. Yeah, just go a couple of days before the whole thing is posted there. So yeah, so that is one thing, right? That is one thing that, when we are scared, when you think the whole world is against us, when you think I'm a good person, why is these bad things happening to me? You think about Krishna and, Krishna's hand, and then you say, okay, Krishna, now guide me, tell me what I have to learn, so on and so forth. But equally important also is to see Krishna's hands when good things are happening.
Yeah.
Right, good things happening to us. And I'd like to stop with this nice little experience that I had, and Garima Mataji will also be there because they were with me. So last Wednesday, I'd gone there. I was at the temple, and one of the regular Rajbhog cooks was sick, and so they requested that, can you cook? And I was like, oh my goodness, yes, I will, definitely. It's Karthik. I got the opportunity to cook Rajbhoga. What more do you want from on that? So But then, like it's a big challenge to find what is where, because in my kitchen I know what is where and I can pick, and it's a small kitchen, no walking distances, no nothing like that. So there, because it was a Wednesday, so people were not there. And so even for me to try to find where the switches are, because whenever I enter the kitchen, there's always light already on. Somebody has done it. So I had no idea about this and that. And then, okay, I made some dal, I made some this. And then I went into the fridge and I saw, nice, round, they're not turnips, they're actually radish, which are red color radishes like that. So they're very nice. I saw some, celery stick also. So I said, okay, let me make some salad for the Lord also. So I cut all that, and then I searched the whole fridge. I did not find a lemon. And as I was walking out of that, and I said, oh, there's no lemon over here. And you will not believe, those of you who have seen our kitchen, of course, all of you almost have seen it. Varshana Mataji might not remember. But there is, so from the fridge, you come out and then you start walking towards the steel tables where you do the cooking. That was coming off from the steel tables. I saw there was a man coming into the kitchen. He had his hand full of 2 bags. In one bag, there were oranges, and other bag, there were lemon. What were the odds of that happening, right? So these are, you can look at it as like, oh, they're odds, and you can think about odds and, calculus and all that kind of stuff. And the second option is, as you said, okay, Krishna. And it was that time, actually a little shiver went in my body, because I was like, Krishna is observing. He's seeing what I'm cooking, the mood and my thoughts and everything that are going there. He's checking everything. And you feel like, oh my goodness, I'm so exposed.
Yeah. This is very lucky that you got the lemons, because, he wanted you to have them. But just to let you know, we have a lot of lemon juice bottles.
Yeah. That's
yes, and to find a lemon juice bottle is a chore. That is the bottle. I can't find the bottle. And somebody had recently cleaned the refrigerator very nicely. So whatever little I knew from the chaotic state, it was all organized. I could not find anything. So it was a nice experience to know that Krishna really helps. Yeah. And then later on, I was just thinking that that maybe Krishna wanted lemon. He felt like,
so he made the arrangement for it.
Yeah,
and Mataji, it is he looked at your desire to serve him for that. You see, to fulfill your desire.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, it's a mutual thing. He planted that desire. He does that, right? Yeah. So on that happy note, I'll call it a day. Thank you so much for joining us here on Zoom, as well as those of you who are watching us on Facebook.
Please send
again
slokas, please.
Sunday. You didn't pay the fees.
Please. I said please.
Okay, you said please. I already posted the slokas on the WhatsApp.
Yeah, it's there already.
Yeah, they're already there. Even before you said please.
Thank you. I was a little late.
Shraddha-mataji.
Alrighty.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhuvayeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavabhyo namo. Thank you, Shraddha-mataji, for the best class.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mataji.
And enjoy the 5 days of Kartik, last 5 days of Kartik. And we are sitting here, we're having a class, we're doing Krishna Katha. It's a fantastic thing to do during the Bhishma Panchak.
Every Sunday, I'm just making some these things.
Sunday is the last day, Mataji, right? Sunday is the last day?
No, Tuesday
is the last.
No, when in USA the date is different, right?
Yeah, I thought someone told me Sunday is the last day. After the sunset, we can break the fast or something. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not fasting.
My fast during Kartik was not to feel bad, have bad thoughts about, a couple of people. So I can't even break my fast.
I stopped sweets for the whole month, Mataji, which is really hard for me. I know. I feel so good now. Diwali went and everything went, and I didn't touch a single sweet.
Very nice.
Oh, wow. Awesome, Mataji. Nice.
And
this is vijitendriyaḥ. This is how you conquer your senses through practice. But also remember that the senses, when they are deprived for such a long time, when you start eating sweets, they will come back with twice the force.
Yeah, I know. So you have to control that. Yeah.
That second force, you have to really pray hard.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Take care. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Fantastic day. Talk to some of you on Sunday morning.